Welcome to the CanMed Coffee Talk podcast, where we talk with the leading minds in cannabis science, medicine, cultivation, and safety and testing. I am your host, Ben Amaralt. I am the Senior Marketing Manager at Medicinal Genomics and proud member of the team that puts on the CanMed Summit. Well, the word is out. The CanMed 26 Innovation and Collaboration Summit will take place June 15th through the 18th at the Hyatt Regency Lake Tahoe. We're excited to bring CanMed back out west for all our friends on the left coast who've had to travel to Florida and Puerto Rico the past few years. Once again, the summit will cover 3.5 days. Day 1 kicks off with plenary panels, followed by a welcome reception. Day 2 will again feature our full-day medical practicum, led by Doctors Bonnie Goldstein, Dustin Sulak, and Ethan Rousseau. More details to come on that very soon, as well as a half-day cultivation and regulatory workshops. Day 3 will again feature our curated oral presentations in the focus areas of cannabis science, medicine, cultivation, and safety testing, followed by a day at the beach. If you would like to present at CanMed 26, our call for abstracts is officially open through November 15th. Use the link in the show description to submit your abstract for either an oral or poster presentation. Good luck, and I hope to see you on the lake. All other information about CanMed 26 is up at canmedevents.com, and registration opens January 5th. Be sure to sign up for email alerts so you don't miss that registration date. Attendance is limited, and we are expecting a sellout, and you don't want to miss out. Our guest today is Caitlyn Krebs. Caitlyn is a biotech executive with over 20 years of experience advancing therapeutics, diagnostics, and digital health innovations. She is the co-founder and CEO of Nalu Bio, where she leads the development of next-generation cannabinoid-inspired therapeutics with pharmaceutical-grade quality and scalability. Over her career, Caitlyn has completed more than 50 strategic partnerships and product launches across biopharma, diagnostics, and digital health. Nalu Bio recently announced positive results for a cannabinoid-based therapeutic for endometriosis, a condition that affects 200 million women worldwide. During our conversation, we discussed understanding endometriosis, symptoms, diagnosis, and current treatment options, how millions of women with endometriosis are already using CBD or THC to self-treat symptoms, what makes the endocannabinoid system a prime target for endometriosis, how Nalu Bio uses an AI platform to accelerate the development of novel, consistent, and non-addictive cannabinoid molecules, the potential for broader applications of cannabinoid-based therapeutics similar to GLP-1 therapies, the timeline for future clinical trials and potential FDA approval, and more. Before we get to my conversation with Caitlyn, I'd like to thank this episode's sponsor, the Society of Cannabis Clinicians. The Society of Cannabis Clinicians MedCan Conference offers a rare opportunity for clinicians to dive deep into the clinical realities and therapeutic potential of medical cannabis and psychedelics. Designed with healthcare providers in mind, their sessions focus on case-based learning, emerging protocols, and real-world challenges, offering practical insights that can be immediately applied in your practice. Learn more at cannabisclinicians.com and use the code CP15 to receive 15% off of your registration. Okay, and without any further ado, please enjoy my conversation with Caitlyn Krebs. Good afternoon, Caitlyn. Thank you so much for joining us on the podcast.
Good afternoon, Ben. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, and I'm excited to talk with you today about a potential new cannabinoid-based treatment for endometriosis. This is a significant development for a couple of reasons, which I know we're going to get into. But first of all, for listeners who may not be familiar, what is endometriosis and what makes it such a difficult disease to diagnose and treat?
So, endometriosis is a really painful women's health condition, causing severe pain, inflammation, and infertility. Actually, 40% of women who are infertile also have endometriosis. And it affects 200 million women worldwide. So, that's about 10% of women ages 25 to 45. So, it is a broad condition. And the challenge with the disease is that it's very hard to diagnose. So diagnostic testing is improving. I'm hopeful that in the next couple of years there'll be a diagnostic on the market, FDA approved for endometriosis. But right now, you're not diagnosed until they actually have a surgery to go in and find the actual endometrial tissue within the woman's body. So the other challenging thing about it is that treatment options are very limited. They will put a woman on an NSAID like a Tylenol or Advil. If that doesn't work, they move to opioids. No one wants to be on an opioid long term. And then they'll put you on a hormonal therapy, which puts you into basically early menopause as someone in their 20s or 30s, which no woman wants to be. So it's a really impactful disease where there's no cure.
Wow. And so how does this disease typically, first kind of present? What are the early signs?
Yeah, so some women, actually teenagers, experience very difficult periods in their early teens, and that is kind of the first sign of endometriosis or kind of GI tract issues.
Mm.
So it can start very early, but then women go to doctor to doctor. They don't know if they have, irritable bowel syndrome or they have other GI symptoms, and then finally they're diagnosed. So it's a really long and frustrating journey for a lot of these women. The opportunity we see is really to deliver a non-hormonal therapy that's as good as an opioid, as good as an NSAID, and actually disease modifying, which means it shrinks the endometrial lesions.
Right, because it sounds like at least the treatments that you were mentioning, it seems like it's more of a controlling of symptoms than actually treating the condition, right?
That's exactly right. So all of the compounds, well, there's the opioids and the NSAIDs, they are just masking the pain of endometriosis. There are hormonal therapies that you can go on. AbbVie makes one, it's called Orlissa, and it basically dampens estrogen and progesterone and puts you into this early menopause. And so then you have bone density issues. You have kind of you have the kind of sweating, night sweats, all of the things that women typically get much later in life, and so no one wants to be on these hormonal therapies, so they actually don't go on them.
Yeah, and then I read your press release, and I know that you mentioned a study from UCSF that endometriosis may in fact be linked to over 600 other health conditions as well.
Yes, yeah. So it was an incredible study done by a woman, Linda Giudice, at UCSF. And so endometriosis is a very complex disease, and it's linked, as Linda showed with her data, to 600 other conditions: rheumatoid arthritis, osteoarthritis, um, migraines, asthma, the list goes on. And so we believe we're very well suited to address this because it's this multi-neuroinflammatory disease. We can address with our compounds the pain, the inflammation, and actually be disease modifying.
Right, and that sort of aligns with the endocannabinoid system, right? It's a system that is linked to all of these other systems and has all these different connections. So is that sort of what was the light bulb moment that cannabinoids might be a good fit for this?
Yes, so so the endocannabinoid system is really your body's largest balancing system. So its job is to keep your body in homeostasis. Its job is to basically it regulates all eight systems in your body. So cardiovascular, inflammation, reproduction, metabolic. And its job is to basically, when you're experiencing pain, when you're experiencing inflammation, its job is to kind of desensitize your body and reduce the inflammation. And so when that system is out of whack or not working appropriately, we believe you can come in with external therapeutics like ours to really modulate the pain, reduce the inflammation, and also be disease modifying. One of the things about the ECS is that women are uniquely suited for ECS therapeutics. We as women have more receptors in our body as we age. We actually metabolize cannabinoids or endocannabinoids differently than men. So it's really this system that's tuned for women, and is very well suited to address these chronic pain and inflammatory diseases like endometriosis.
Wow. No, and then also when I read from the press release, it said that was it 34% of treatments don't work for patients, or 34% of patients reported not. You can clarify what the
Yeah, yeah,
percentage is, but
yeah.
then but then you're saying that a lot of them self-medicate with cannabinoids. So speak a little more about that.
That's exactly right. Yeah. So the treatments aren't working for these women. They're unhappy. NSAIDs aren't working. No one wants to be on an opioid long term. The hormonal therapies have these terrible side effects. So up to half of women who have endometriosis are using cannabinoids, and it's working. It's reducing the pain, sometimes up to 70 or 80%
Mm.
pain improvement for these women. They're also finding that they can go off their opioids or their NSAIDs when they're on cannabinoids. But the problem is, cannabinoids can be inconsistent. Physicians can't trust them. They don't, it's not an FDA approved drug. And so what we're doing is we're really making them consistent, reliable, backed by science and data. And so we're basically inspired by nature through cannabinoids, but we're changing the chemistry. We're actually creating completely new chemical entities through our AI platform.
Excellent. Now, do you know which cannabinoids that they're getting relief using?
Yeah, it's typically CBD or THC.
Hmm.
And if it's THC, these are midlife women. They typically have kids. You talk to them, they want to be able to drive, they want to be able to,
Right.
work and not be inhibited by the THC.
Excellent. So, as I understand it, you're kind of developing novel molecules based on cannabinoids?
That's exactly right. Yeah. So we've developed a AI generative platform in which we feed in naturally occurring cannabinoids. Those are the inspiration. The generative AI then generates new chemical entities. We then can look at basically in silico and machine learning models, how they bind to the receptors, prioritize them, and then we actually synthesize them through chemistry.
Excellent. So, which cannabinoids were sort of the inspiration for this new one, or is that a secret sauce?
No, it's not a secret sauce. So we feed the model with a number of cannabinoids you would recognize. So CBD, CBN, CBC, THCV. Those are our main seeds, is what we call them for the model itself. The interesting thing, though, that I love about the endocannabinoid system is I believe the ECS is really the next GLP-1 class of molecule. So the GLP-1 category for, first for diabetes, these GLP-1s worked very well for diabetes. Then obviously for weight loss, that's when it really took off. But then you saw all these other benefits in cognition. You saw this in cardiovascular disease. And so I believe ECS-based medicines are the next GLP-1s, where you're not only going to see it's good for pain, it's good for inflammation, it's good for sleep, it's good for anxiety, it's good for depression. So that's what gets me really excited about the endocannabinoid system.
Now, would that be different molecules for different applications, or could it be one for multiple?
So I think like GLP-1, it could be
Yeah.
one for multiple. And you even see that in the data where these women are taking naturally occurring cannabinoids. It's helping for pain. It's also helping for sleep, for depression, for anxiety. So I believe it cuts across them like the GLP-1s do.
Excellent. And now, this is a single molecule approach? There's not like an entourage sort of effect going
That's
on?
a great question. Yes. So it's a single molecule approach. So it's a single molecule that actually targets two different receptors. So we're we're a partial agonist at these receptors, meaning we're not hitting them too hard to get any of the intoxication that you would get with naturally occurring cannabinoids. So it's a dual mechanistic approach.
Great. Now, you said that you used AI to kind of power the drug design process. Speak a little bit more about that and how it sort of accelerates your development.
Sure. So we believe our AI platform accelerates it 5 times faster than typical drug development. It allows us to generate, hundreds, thousands of new chemical entities. As I mentioned, screen them, prioritize them, and then actually put them into the lab to synthesize them through chemistry. And then we do traditional drug development in vitro, in vivo. And it really allows us to precision engineer these molecules so that they're consistent. They're backed by science and data. And our goal really is to get through FDA. So these are FDA regulated drugs to get through the FDA and get them approved and out in the market.
Excellent. And now, if I'm not mistaken, the latest results that you have, those were in animal models?
Those are in animal models, correct? So we've shown that our compounds are as good as opioids for pain relief, as good as Tylenol, Advil for inflammation, and or disease modifying as well. So actually shrink the endometrial lesions.
Wow. So this would sort of be a bit of a game changer or a bit, or sort of the first of its kind, at least for endometriosis, right?
Yes, this is definitely a first of its kind. So this would be first in class that's non-hormonal and disease modifying. In fact, one of our compounds is completely made through AI, which,
Ooh.
there was no chemist involved. It's one of our front runner compounds. And so if you ask a chemist to look at this, it looks nothing like what a chemist would design because the AI came up with it.
Wow. So it's just completely novel.
It's completely novel. Yeah. And in fact, the good thing is it's completely novel. So the IP is really strong around these molecules that are generated through AI. The downside is these molecules are really complicated. So then when chemists need to actually synthesize them and manufacture them, it's much more challenging. And so the AI is challenging the chemists to make some really complex molecules.
Oh, that's interesting. In what ways is it challenging?
So it's challenging in that there's many steps for the chemical synthesis. So in chemistry, when you're making a molecule, it's like building blocks. You have step one that leads to two to three to four to five. And so some of these synthesis, we call them pathways, are 20 steps long,
Wow.
which is just a long, timely process in the lab. And so we're then using more AI to say, okay, then how do you actually simplify the number of steps? Can you get it from 20 steps to 10 steps or from 20 steps to 5 steps? So we're really excited about, it's a large unmet medical need. There's a lot of data out there. Women are already using cannabinoids, and we're just bringing the tools and the technology to improve them and create this new class of molecules.
Wow, that's fascinating that, the chemists need to learn some new tricks in order to
That's
create them.
right. That's right. That's exactly right. Yes.
Excellent. And now in the press release, it also mentioned that you're also investigating another compound for, what was it, acute surgical pain and inflammation?
Yes, that's right. So, post-surgical pain and inflammation. So, we have data to show that our compound, again, is as good as morphine, which is the standard
Wow.
opioid, as good as Tylenol, Advil, NSAIDs. And so, we believe it's well suited to be basically a pain therapeutic that is as effective as opioids, but doesn't have all of the side effects that opioids come with and the addiction. We also kind of using technology can very precisely engineer these, and there's a pathway in which opioids bind to that drive the tolerance, the addiction of opioids. And we've driven or kind of designed our molecules away from that pathway so we know that it won't have the addiction that opioids have.
Wow, that's really interesting because at least with cannabinoids, it's been kind of shown that it's great for chronic pain, but not so much for acute pain. So it's
That's right. That's
uh,
right. Yeah. And we have data to show that ours has a very cute, quick onset as well. So within an hour or so, ours is about as good as an NSAID. So it's a very quick, kind of rapid onset.
Excellent. Sorry here.
Oh, yeah.
We'll cut this part down.
Sure.
So as you've mentioned, many patients struggling with endometriosis are turning to cannabinoids for symptom relief today. What message would you give them about what's coming next?
Yes, I'm I'm happy to see that there's a market. These women are already turning to cannabinoids. But what's coming next is really a whole new game changer. In fact, we've talked to a number of OBGYNs, and they see this class of molecules as potential game changers. They're non-hormonal. They're not going to have the side effects of the hormonal therapies, the kind of early menopause. They're not going to be addictive like an opioid. And so I would say, we're excited about the future. We're excited to bring them new molecules and just hang in there.
Yeah.
We're coming, you know, and the naturally occurring cannabinoids, in the interim are definitely a solution for them.
Yeah, no, you mentioned that yeah, that you're coming and that
Yeah.
it's going to take time. So you mentioned that, we've done the animal trials. Sort of what are the next steps?
Yes. Yeah, so in traditional drug development, there's a playbook. So you do kind of cellular studies in vitro, you do animal studies in vivo, then you prepare for your IND, you prepare for your FDA submission, and then you go into phase one safety and phase two efficacy. So right now we're preparing for that FDA submission. They call them IND enabling studies.
Great. And so what does that look like? What's sort of the timeline there?
Yeah, so that's about a year. So it'll take us about a year to prepare all of the IND enabling studies and submit to the FDA, and then we'll run the phase one and phase two studies. So we're still multiple years out from an FDA approved therapeutic.
Excellent. And now is this sort of the first compound that you've gotten this far, or are there others?
There are others. So we have a pipeline of 11 that we've developed through our platform. And in addition to endometriosis and post-surgical pain, we're looking at a number of different indications. The press release mentions 700 other diseases, or excuse me, 600 other diseases that are related to endometriosis. Some of those looking at osteoarthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, other inflammatory and immune diseases are on our pipeline horizon.
Excellent. Great. And now all of this development, all of these potential breakthroughs, it all sort of started with cannabinoids. Is that fair to say?
That's right. It all started with cannabinoids. So we're inspired by nature, leveraging the endocannabinoid system. I think it's got great potential. But yeah, we're inspired by nature. We're just improving upon nature.
Excellent. All right, Caitlin, winding down here, I want to give you an opportunity to share any other resources that you think might be of interest to the listeners and watchers here on YouTube. And then any other links to learn more about Nalu Bio and the work that you guys are doing, please plug away, and I'd be happy to put the links in the show description.
Great, wonderful. I definitely would reference the UCSF study on endometriosis with the six other diseases by Linda Giudice. And then you can reach us at Nalu Bio, so NALUBIO.com.
Excellent. All right, Caitlin, thank you so much again for coming on and sharing these exciting developments. And I hope to see you in Nalu Bio down in, well, not down. I keep saying that because we used to be in Puerto Rico, but we're going to be at Lake Tahoe for CanMed 26. So hope to see you and the team out there and hopefully sharing some new and exciting developments.
Wonderful. It's basically in our backyard. We're in the Bay Area, so
Oh,
Tahoe's not
perfect.
far.
All
Yes.
right.
Well, thank you, Ben, very much for having me on. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk about Nalo and what we're building here.
Excellent.